Here is your full 1400-word cinematic VIP story, written in smooth, emotional English with deep drama, natural dialogue, twists, and a powerful moral at the end. After the story you'll get the YouTube description and keywords. Waiter threw water at pregnant black woman, then found out her husband owned the entire hotel chain. The Crystal View Hotel shimmered like wealth itself. Marble floors polished to a mirror shine. Chandeliers dripping with light, and soft music floating through the grand lobby. Guests in designer suits mingled. Bellboys hurried with carts of luggage, and everything felt perfectly choreographed. Except tonight. Something ugly broke through the perfection. A pregnant black woman slowly stepped into the lounge restaurant, one hand on her stomach, the other gripping her purse. Her name was Naomi Rivers, 8 months along, glowing, tired, but carrying herself with quiet grace. Her doctor had told her to rest more. Her husband told her he'd meet her here after a board meeting. She simply wanted a table to sit at for a moment and breathe. She approached the host's stand, smiling kindly. "Hi, could I get a quiet table? I'm just waiting for my husband." The waiter on duty, Ethan, didn't look up at first. He was too busy flirting with a group of influencers he thought would tip big. When he finally turned to her, annoyance crossed his face immediately. He saw her simple maternity dress, her natural hair wrapped neatly, her tired smile, someone he thought he didn't need to impress. "Reservations only," he said sharply. Naomi blinked. "Oh, I didn't know." My husband Ethan waved her off. "If you don't have a reservation, you can't stand here. You're holding up the line." There was no line. Naomi swallowed hard. "I just need a seat. I've been on my feet all day. Please." Ethan rolled his eyes dramatically. "Ma'am, this is a luxury hotel. You can't just walk in here asking for special accommodations." Her hand instinctively moved to her stomach. "I'm not asking for special treatment, just a seat," he scoffed. "Stuff like this is why this place gets the wrong crowd." That one sentence bruised something inside Naomi. She'd heard those words before. Subtle digs, coded insults, judgments pinned on her before she even spoke. But tonight she refused to crumble. "Is this how you speak to all guests?" she asked softly. Ethan smirked. "Two guests? No. Two people who wander in here pretending they belong? Yeah." A couple watching in the corner froze. One whispered, "She looks like she's about to pass out." Naomi steadied herself, breathing slowly. "I belong here more than you know." "Oh really?" Ethan scoffed. "What? You own the place." Naomi stared at him. Calm, silent, unbothered by the insult. And that unnerved him. Ethan snapped. "You know what? If you're going to be difficult." Before she could move away, he reached for a water pitcher on the podium and splashed it toward her feet, droplets hitting her legs and shoes. "There," he said cruelly. "Now you have a reason to complain." The lounge went dead silent. Naomi inhaled sharply, holding the edge of the podium to keep herself from falling. A couple gasped. A businessman stood up in outrage. But Ethan, suddenly realizing the attention, pretended she had made a scene. She stepped too close. He lied loudly. "I told her to move." Naomi's eyes burned. Not from tears, but from the shock of cruelty she never expected from someone wearing a uniform of service. "Slowly," she whispered. "All I needed was a place to sit." Then a voice thundered across the lounge. "Naomi." Everyone turned. A man in a dark blue suit rushed forward, handsome, tall, powerful, presence, expression shifting from confusion to horror to fury in seconds. Ethan froze. Naomi breathed out in relief. David Rivers dropped to his knees beside her, gripping her hands. "Baby, what happened? Are you okay? Are you hurting? Did someone touch you?" Naomi tried to speak, but her voice shook. Just tired. "He wouldn't let me sit." David looked down, saw the water on her shoes, and his entire face changed. Slowly, dangerously. "Who did this to you?" She didn't have to answer. Everyone's eyes shifted at once toward Ethan. He tried to fix his posture. "Sir." This woman. David stood, adjusting his suit jacket with a coldness that made the room tremble. "Finish that sentence very carefully." Ethan stammered. She didn't have a reservation, and she got too close to the podium. "It was an accident. I swear." David didn't raise his voice, but somehow the quiet made it worse. "You threw water at my wife." The word wife echoed through Ethan's skull like a bullet. "Wife." His mouth fell open. David took out a black access card from his pocket, platinum edged, engraved with a crown logo. Every employee nearby blanched. Only chain owners had those. Naomi's husband was the owner. "The Rivers Group," the bartender whispered. "He's CEO. They own the entire Crystal View chain." Ethan felt his knees weaken. Naomi gripped David's arm. "Don't escalate, please. I just want to sit." David's voice turned soft for her. "You're sitting, you're eating, and you're resting. Everything else," he looked back at Ethan, "is handled." Hotel security arrived instantly, not summoned, but drawn by the tension. "Yes, Mr. Rivers?" the lead guard asked nervously. David pointed at Ethan without even looking at him. "He's fired. Effective immediately." Ethan's face strained. "Sir, please, I didn't know." David's voice hardened. "And if you had known she was my wife, would you have treated her differently?" Ethan had no answer, because the truth was obvious. David stepped closer. "You threw water at a pregnant woman. You insulted her. You endangered her. There is no explanation, apology, or excuse that can fix the kind of rot that made you behave like that. Security grabbed Ethan's arm. He panicked. I didn't know. I didn't know. David's eyes narrowed. That's exactly the problem. They dragged Ethan out, his pleas echoing through the marble halls. But David wasn't done. He turned to the restaurant manager, voice calm but lethal. I want every staff member retrained, effective tomorrow morning. Nobody in this hotel will treat any guest like this ever again. Understood. The manager nodded violently. Yes, sir. Absolutely. David took Naomi's hand and guided her to a plush private booth. Staff rushed with towels, blankets, warm food, and the softest chair they could find. But Naomi shook her head gently. David, it's okay, really. I'm okay. He sat beside her, brushing hair from her forehead. You shouldn't have had to go through that. You shouldn't have been alone. I wasn't alone, she said quietly. There were people watching, and none of them approved. David exhaled slowly, guilt loosening its grip. You know, when I built this place, I dreamed it would be somewhere people felt safe, welcome, respected. She touched his hand. One bad man doesn't undo your whole dream. Maybe not, David murmured, but it reminds me how quickly people forget to treat others like humans. She leaned her head on his shoulder, then show them again. And David did. He held an emergency staff meeting. He apologized to the entire lounge. He apologized to Naomi in front of everyone, not because it was his fault, but because leadership begins with accountability. But his last words were the ones that stayed with everyone. You don't know someone's story by looking at them. You don't know their worth by their clothes, their tone, or their background. If kindness is something you give only when it benefits you, then you were never kind to begin with. The next morning, the Crystal View Hotel felt different. Warmer, better, more human. And word of what happened traveled far, not because a billionaire owner punished a bad employee, but because a pregnant black woman stood tall despite cruelty, and a husband valued her dignity above status, image, or anger. Together, they reminded an entire luxury hotel of a simple truth. Respect isn't earned by money. It's earned by character. Moral of the story. Kindness is not a luxury, it's a responsibility. Treat people with dignity, not because of who they might be, but because of who you should be.